What is your position on foreign involvement in Ukraine and Russia?
What was that?
What's your position on foreign involvement in Ukraine and Russia?
We need to get out. We need to stop giving them money. I would argue that Vladimir Putin has more justification to invade Ukraine than we did invading Iraq, contrary to what the dumb Jew said earlier. Because the reality is Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11, and this has been established with a million times over. At least with Russia and Ukraine, Putin can justify invading Ukraine for national security reasons, right? NATO expansion, putting in the Maidan coup. There's a bunch of reasons why Putin invaded. So I would argue that he actually has more justification to invade Ukraine than we did invading Iraq. We had no business in Iraq, and it cost a bunch of money, gave us zero benefit. It only benefited Israel and the Jews.
Now, I have another question to add to that. Are you worried about appeasement with Putin? Because, like, you know, the British appeasement, like what they did with Hitler in the 1930s and 1940s, where they just, like, let them take over countries. If we do that with Ukraine, it'll, like, cause a domino effect.
Well, they were a part of the Ukraine is basically Russia, man. They were part of the USSR for a very long time. So, I mean, honestly, Ukraine's kind of a fake country, if we're going to be honest. So, like, my thing is, I think we should be making peace with other nuclear powers. I think, or at least have some type of neutral agreement with each other, because I think having these conflicts with other nuclear powers creates problems. I'm very anti-war. I don't want war, and I think diplomacy should always be step number one.
So if they invade other countries like Poland or like more east, like Europe, would you have a problem with that?
A problem with what?
Like them invading like other countries in Eastern Europe, ones that aren't part of the USSR.
I think that's obviously something that could be hindered or stopped off of good diplomacy. But I do think with them invading Ukraine, this is kind of something that's been going on for a very long time, where we've been lying to Putin, saying we're not going to expand NATO, we're not going to bring Ukraine in, and we've been secretly kind of doing it and lying and violating agreements, and they're going to invade because of national security reasons, right? I'll tell you this: if China decided to come into Mexico and take over Mexico City, we would be in there tomorrow, right? So I think every country should be able to exercise their sovereignty and national security, just like we do.
Then also I had a question about women in the military.
Yeah.
So you said like we shouldn't lower the standards to let women in the military. If a woman were to pass male standards, would you be okay with her serving in a line?
Yeah, if she could pass the male standards that we have, yeah, I'm okay with that. But I also understand that a very few will be able to pass it. But if they can do it, cool. But that's going to be, we're talking 1% of the population, maybe less. But my biggest thing is we shouldn't water down the standards to allow women in. That's the problem. We water down the standards to let them in so that we can have more equal representation, which I think the whole concept of equal representation is bullshit.
Okay. So like the qualifications to stay the same and everybody else okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you for your time.
No worries, man. Good questions.